Hello, everybody, and welcome to the weekly reroll. This is the show where we recap what's been happening on Twitch in terms of D&D content. And it's been a while. It's been actually quite a while since our last show because of the whole getting married and moving and yada yada yada. And so now I'm in Vietnam, things are stabilized, my internet's good, all the streaming schedules are good, so we are getting right back into the swing of things. So, without further ado, let's talk about what happened last time on Roleplay Solemn. So we missed a couple of weeks in here, and I'm just going to catch you guys up as much as I can to where we are currently. So the party had met Classico and had kind of betrayed him and then gotten betrayed by him and went out to go find this guy who kicked their ass and get their money back. But on the way, Ryan's character, Dante, ran into a talking bird who was like, yo, you owe me a favor. I need you to do this thing for me. And for me and your deity who's giving you all this power, this, extra plater creature. Ryan translates to the rest of the party, being like, "All right, we gotta go find this goblin princess for this raven." Okay, guys. And we're like, "What? What? That's ridiculous." But they go off and do it anyway. And they kind of just keep walking along the road until they come across some goblins. Track the goblins to a little mine, then rescue some prisoners there, who then lead them to a bigger goblin camp. This is all on the northwest side of the river. The goblin camp turns out to be a bust, or maybe it wasn't, but the party attacks from range. People come out of the camp, some people jump into the river, some people flee, the warriors fight, the warriors all get killed, the party cleans up the camp, no sign of the goblin princess, but one of the chieftain's daughter is the technical term, but everyone calls it the goblin princess. Then the party goes off and to find the other camp, because they capture one person, and the other person says, no, there's another camp further over this way. So the party goes back, but decides to rest at town for a little while, runs into some interesting characters, but doesn't do anything too dramatic or significant, and once healed up, heads out to find the goblin camp. They eventually walk through the woods, find some goblins that are just like resting, but seem to be of a different race, and there's some questions as to what's going on. A couple of them die, and eventually the last one gets set free after revealing the location of the main goblin base. But there's a skin difference here, and there's some sort of maybe these were the slaves, maybe these weren't the slaves, there was some weird shenanigans going on there. Anyway, the party goes onward to the goblin cave, finds it. It's more or less like a pit in the ground with a ladder inside of a bush, and tries to negotiate with the goblins within. A well-dressed, swanky goblin in nice soft robes with a walking stick, who calls himself, what was it? Gimpin. The Gimpin goblin comes out and tries to strike a deal. He says the people don't really care about the chieftain's daughter, and they're willing to trade him if the party will then give them some sort of money compensation or a human girl from the village, a nearby village. And the party goes back on the word that he would be safe, and Jeff's character picks him up and beats him against a tree until he dies. And then Ryan's character, Dante, heads back down into the goblin cave to try and go in. One of the goblins in there knocks the entrance loose, collapses on top of Ryan's character, who almost dies. But eventually, Jeff's character digs him out, and they're okay. At this point, the raven comes back, mocks the party for not finishing their task, and as punishment for failing his extraplanar deity, Ryan's character starts to develop this nasty, large, bulbous nose with this wart on it. It's got weird hairs growing out of the wart, and it's just this disgusting facial feature. And then the party pieces out. Ryan's character is enraged with salt. Actually, no, Ryan is salty, which was great and fun, although that's not why these things happened. His character is just kind of grumpy, and the party goes back to the town. And what did they end up doing? Covering a lot of material. There is a question about whether or not they want to help out these working girls who are working at a brothel down by the riverside, and they decide not to. But first, okay, here we go. I figured it out. First, they team up with two other people, a ranger who hasn't said much named Paulo, and a warrior named Gil Galahad. And they all head down to Jade Run to find this Classico guy and get what's theirs. They run into some people there, team up with some other locals, and eventually set up an ambush, more or less, for Classico at the big open market area. They ambush Classico with the party and the other two backups, and he's pretty much just surrounded. And, well, Gil Galahad, Paolo, and 2 other guys, and the party all surround the Classico and his bodyguards. They rough up the bodyguards, rough the shit out of Classico, break all of his merchandise, steal his money, and then peace out, warning Classico to stay away from things. I don't think they killed him, though. I think they left him alive. And then that's when the working girls come in and ask for if the party will help them. The party investigates a little bit, but decides against it. And then they get a job traveling north to pick up some materials for the Jade Merchant, the other Jade Merchant, who they had partnered with to take down Classico. And the party just travels northward for a little bit, some minor encounters, and we end with them before they take the long trek from Valark to Said something or other, which is like a 3-day journey. And yeah, that's where we left Roleplay Solemn, and there won't be a Solemn until the 25th. That's a Wednesday for you guys. Either the 25th or the 26th, but I think it's the 25th. And that is the next episode of Solemn. So, let's move on to the next show, which is Misclicks. Misclicks has... I don't remember exactly where we left off here, but I'm just going to hit the high points. They chase down the guy that they're looking for, Lord Redfoot. They battle with him. He escapes. They kind of uncover his plans and completely stop all of his work. They are rewarded heavily in money and power and prestige, and rest up. As they're resting up, a strange murder happens in town, and the mayor is killed. The party investigates the murder, and it looks a little bit weird. There's a lot of unusual trappings and markings about the murder, like, the mayor was thrown out of a window, but he was pretty badly beaten. There was blood on the inside. There was no way he could have gotten in the house unless he climbed up the wall and then came in through the windows. It was all very, this is unusual. This is definitely some sort of assassination thing. And while they're investigating it, they investigate it for a day, and the next night there's another murder. And they get dragged out to the scene of the crime, and it is the mayor's wife is dead. And as the party investigates it, they see the telltale markings on the neck of a vampire. So they learn about vampires. Adia already knows a ton. Burn the body of the wife to keep her from becoming a vampire, and then they promise to go search out for the vampire the next day. And they piece together that they think it is the wife's husband who has been raised from the dead to come back and attack his wife. So they go find the husband's grave, and they go to get in there, but the sheriff of the town has already gone down ahead of them and has been charmed by the vampire. Attacks the party fights back, the vampire's attacking them too because it's dark down there, and the party retreats out of the cave before any of them can be charmed. The sheriff plays like he's becoming uncharmed. He has the whole, "Oh, I'm trying to help you, but it's so hard" moment. And the party goes to embrace him, and he tries to kill them again. The party casts a spell magic on him. He's uncharmed. Wolves come, try and knock the party back down into the tomb. It's this big, messy battle. And Arcus gets knocked down and dragged away by the vampire into the dark. And the party has to retreat with the sheriff for the day because, they're too fucked up. They don't have any spells, and there's a vampire down there, and they can't do anything about it today. So they retreat, rest up, regain their spells, and head back the next day. They go down to the tomb, see Arcus bleeding out or bled out, dead on the ground. And someone goes over to stuff holy wafers in his mouth and drive a stake through his heart just in case. And there's a bunch of soldiers standing around looking. And, Arcus is undead. He is a vampire. He runs the guy through with a sword, and a battle ensues. It is a nasty battle. The sheriff is down there. There's 3 priests, not clerics, priests down there. And there's 6 soldiers, and they're all fighting. Arcus gets a stake through his heart. The vampire rips out the stake through his heart. The vampire gets a sword or spear through him. A bunch of other crazy shit happens. And in the end, we end up with vampire Arcus beheading Adia. The mayor, as a vampire, getting stopped pretty much. He's got a spear run all the way through his heart, so he's dead until someone tears a spear out. And Jen's character, Emma, getting drained and turned into a vampire as well. So now there is undead Arcus vampire, undead vampire Emma, dead Adia, and the sheriff, who we had a guest for, is also dead. and that ends Misclick's Season 2 Demigods. We have talked about what we're going to do next, and we'll see that. God, I don't know if it's this week. I think it can't be this week because I think Jen's out of town this week. So it would have to be the 24th. Yeah, I think the next Misclicks is going to be on the 24th, but I'm not entirely sure. Whew, I know, pretty big, heavy one for Misclicks, right? But that's it. Up next is Honor-Bound Redemption of the New Guard. God, I don't know where we left on this one either. But we wrap up all the stuff in Valis. We wipe out all the snake people. We restore peace to the city. Justin and I get into a little bit of trouble. Justin and Thimble get into a little trouble in town with some zombies. Thimble rides a zombie into a bar, and everyone freaks out, which is very appropriate. And then we fly on the Griffins to go do this thing, but we get stopped along the way, and it's becoming a pain in the ass. And there's some OP moments where we kill a bunch of dudes through an invisible, like an opaque wall that's impervious to, or that arrows can shoot through one way but not the other. Then we head back, pick up pick up Ryan's character. I don't remember his name right now, and proceed onward to go help out the elves in the woods. We end up at this encampment inside of a town, and shit goes bad. Shit goes real bad. We end up fighting the captain of the area. Some people almost die. Some people do, like, almost die. It doesn't go well. Ryan and Justin manage to talk their way out of it eventually. I run and hide and get chased and then escape, and Thimble and Thimbleine are like, fuck this shit, we're out of here, we're not working with these guys anymore. Ryan and Justin are like, these guys don't even want our help, fuck them, we came here to save them and now they're attacking us, this is bullshit. And we decide that we're all going to start over with a new campaign. And so we start over with a new campaign taking place in the Age of Might, up in kind of the area where Roleplay Solemn is taking place, near Sedgwick. And it starts with new characters. I'm playing a monk. Ryan is playing a barbarian or a fighter, or I'm not exact. I think he's a fighter. And Justin is playing a rogue or a bard, a druid. Justin's playing a druid, and we have a good session. What do we do? A girl gets kidnapped. The bartender's daughter gets kidnapped, and we go after her to track her down. Party's got some pretty good synergy. It's going well. Justin's character gets ahead, gets captured, rescues the girl, but then gets captured himself. And the girl is strapped to a wolf charmed by Justin and rides off. The party meets up with the wolf, rescues the girl, drives the wolf away, returns the girl to a town, and tries to go rescue Justin before he would get sacrificed by the goblins to their dark god. We go in and fight the goblins. We sneak around, do our best. My character, who's a monk, who I really liked, gets killed. And Ryan and Justin manage to finish off the rest and save the day, escaping. There's some animosity between the two of them. Ryan's character is like, you didn't, we should have kept the monk. He was worth more than you. And Justin's character is like, well, that's too bad, but, I did save the girl, and blah, blah, blah. And at the very end, I don't think they actually meet my character, but I roll up a new character for next week, which is not this week, unfortunately. It is not the 15th, and it will probably not be the 22nd, although I'm going to try. So we won't have Honor-Bound. I'm sorry, no. It's not the 5th. It's not the 8th, but we will have it on the 15th, and then not on the 22nd. There we go. But instead, on the 8th today, we will be doing Dicing with Death. Actually, Dicing with Death will be right after this broadcast. Maybe not directly after, maybe like 15 minutes after this broadcast. So we'll be doing Honor-Bound on the 15th next. Okay, which brings us to Dicing with Death. So we are working with Fenric, Ryan's character. And a lot of shit has happened. Too much shit has happened to recap it all. There's too many threads. The role-playing is too detailed. But basically, he travels around, makes some money, does some jobs, levels up a little bit, hasn't found a spellbook yet, hears about the snow starts falling and it's problematic, and he gets assigned a quest by the Lord that lives outside of the town that we're hanging out in Marmon. He meets up with the Lord outside of Marmon, who gives him a chance to figure out why the storm is happening and put a stop to it if he can. So Ryan travels all the way up to Keygate, I think, or near Keygate, to figure out what's going on. Kind of figures it out. There's some sort of magical something or other creating the storm, and it's located in the Maw. And so then he heads back to the Lord to give all this information, writes down all his thoughts, hands it over, gets some money to hire some men to go into the Maw and find the source of this. And I think that's where he is. He's on his way to the Maw to figure out, or to put a stop to this one way or the other. And G-Tech, our friend from before, has since lost his leg and lost his ability to adventure. His sister, whose name is Cookie, has been forced into prostitution to pay for them. Ryan's friend, the dwarf Rockbreaker, has been killed. It's been pretty bad. A lot of the things he's touched have turned to ash. But he's also helped some people out along the way. He saved some people. Actually, they were all dead. No, he didn't save them. But he got some revenge on some Yetis that have been showing up and terrorizing the area. And he's fought some weird-ass crystal things, ice crystals that attack you in the snow. And the snow is becoming a problem. But he's got at least some warmer clothing for now. And that's where we leave off with Dicing with Death, which will be, again, happening just after this broadcast. Okay, last but not least, we have Age of Strife. And if you look at the cast list, you will see that we now have Kreia and Orr. They are Shannon and Elohim's new characters. And before we talk about them too much, let's figure out what happened with these folks. I think the last time we touched base was the first episode. They just dealt with some goblins in and around the town of Shallot. Let's see. They head south, get involved with a thief or a rogue or a mafia member or some sort of underground element that had them honey bait or honey trap. Well, I guess they could choose their own method. They decided to honey trap him, but trap a guy for questioning. And they did so. Was offered another job to look into this guy, Old Man Wallace, who disappeared. And they go in to look into it, and they start finding a trail, and they're hot on the heels, and they get a little too ambitious. They run into a goblin ambush at night. And while mid-ambush, they lose a couple of their members. Darude died first, and it didn't go well. The party fought back, eventually pushed back the goblins that had attacked them, and then chased after them. Tilly chased after them because she was known. She could see in the dark while the others couldn't. And in her chasing after them, she got killed. Eventually, Theobald and Aldous survived, and ran into two new friends, these barbarians named Kreia and Orr. And they are barbarians from the northwest in the forest, near the Blackthorn Forest. They come from the clan Gazum. Yes, put those names together. And they hear some rumors about orcs to the north and some large raids that have been happening. And they go up to investigate. Come across a kid whose parents were just murdered on the trail, on the road up north, follow the blood trail and the ox trail out, run into some goblins and a bugbear again, slay them, run into some more goblins on wolves, slay them, get pretty hurt, but keep going. Eventually manage to run into some more goblins on wolves, kill them as well. Get to the goblin lair, investigate the inside, and there is one big mean-ass bugbear running the place. Waving all sorts of threats, intimidating women, intimidating men, having the men all tied up for God knows what evil purposes, and the party fights him. Or almost dies. He goes down but not out. And the party manages to barely defeat the bugbear, but then they search the cavern, find out there's a bunch of slaves, talk to the slaves. The slaves reveal that there's a bigger, badder, meaner bugbear coming back, and that this big bad mean one that they just fought and did 50 points of damage to is not the boss. And so they decide not to loot the rest of the goblin cave, but they do leave the goblins alive and head back before the big mean guy comes. I think his name is Berwick, Webbick, something like that. Some combination of B's and Ix and Ers and somethings and Wiz. I don't remember his name. And then they head back down south to rest and recuperate, and we leave them in whatever that town is named. Almost, Amos. God, I should be looking up these town names. It doesn't matter anyway. So that's where we leave off with Age of Strife. And we will be playing next week, which will be the 14th. And we will be playing with just the two barbarians, just Kreia and Or, because Soma and Scoots have things to do in life. And that is it for the weekly reroll, guys. If you have any questions about what happened, post them below, and I will do my best to answer, or anyone else that's watched them will attempt to answer. And we will see you guys soon for more Dungeons & Dragons action. Okay, take care, bye-bye.